Hey guys, this is James with Rogue Duelist Trade. On this channel, we talk about upcoming Yu-Gi-Oh product and whether or not you should be investing your money in order to profit. But we're gonna do a special edition episode today. We're gonna talk about Secret Slayers and the singles in that set because that set dropped last week. So we're gonna do a post-set released market watch on Secret Slayers. So in this discussion, what I would like to do is go through all of the current cards from that set and watch the market price fluctuations and determine whether or not we should be investing our money in singles in this set that have promise to go up so that we can make money on these singles. So these types of discussions have been asked by you guys, so I want you to know that I'm listening and I'm trying to figure out a creative way to put our own spin on this for investment discussions, especially for product in Yu-Gi-Oh. So if you guys like this type of content, you want to see more videos like this video, hit that thumbs up button. That helps me understand whether or not you guys are enjoying this content. And also, if you guys like Yu-Gi-Oh investment discussions, subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell. If you guys want to see upcoming videos that I'm going to be releasing on Yu-Gi-Oh product investments, then you guys will be the first ones to see it if you're subscribed. And share this video with friends, Facebook pages, whatever sources make sense for people to enjoy this type of content so that we can grow this channel together. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into this discussion. So the website that we're going to use to go through market price fluctuations is YuGiOhprices.com. Whoever put this website together did an amazing job. They essentially take data from sources like eBay, Trollinto, TCG Player, Amazon PokeOrder, etc., and they put all that data together to show you the market price fluctuation through all these different web platforms. In addition to using YuGiOhprices.com, I found PPG Player has their own YouTube channel, and the gentleman on that channel went and showed the ratios from their case pulls for Secret Slayers from last week. So I went and took some screenshots from there. If you guys would like to see their video, go and check them out. I'm gonna put their URL in the description down below. I'd love to support them. They have no idea that I'm doing this, but I really appreciate their content, so I'd like to support them if you guys wanna go check them out. So this is sorted from secret and super rares, from hardest to pull to easiest to pull by those rarities. So what I would like to do is compare the market price fluctuations and current prices in the marketplace today for cards in Secret Slayers and compare that to the ratios and see how they compare. And I think what you guys are gonna see is it compares almost to the T for hardest to pull being highest prices, which is kind of what you would expect. So looking at Elvidge, the Golden Lord, current lowest price, which I believe is on eBay, is $72.20. He is the most expensive card in the set, and he has actually in the last 3 days has gone down by 4% and has gone up in the past 24 hours by 29%. And I'm recording this video actually on Good Friday. So for those of you that celebrate Easter, happy Resurrection Day. But yeah, he showed a very marginal increase over the past 24 hours. And I don't know, with the meta being kind of out of commission right now with everything going on with the Crush Card virus, I don't know if I expect him to go up much more than he is right now. Although everything is kind of in an odd stasis where I don't know if it's really gonna go down. I think right now the market is set on people's expectations for product and they're just going and buying it. And I don't know how much it's really gonna change until the meta is back in upswing, unless we get a lot of really good online tournaments that take traction that start determining the meta relevance for cards and adjust their pricing accordingly. I would probably not invest in Elvidge the Golden Lord for profit purposes. Now, if you guys want to play this archetype, maybe you should go ahead and buy. I really don't know if it's going to go much lower unless we find out later on that it's not very meta relevant, which then the cost will probably go down. But then at that point, do you really want to be playing this set if it's not meta relevant? That's up to you. Now looking at Emancipator Researcher. Now it's very interesting. She's just as hard to pull as Elvidge the Golden Lord, although she is significantly less than Elvidge. So as you can see, Researcher has gone down by 4%, similar to Elvidge. And you're actually gonna see that's pretty common for most cards in a set that has recently come out after the first 1 to 2 weeks being in the market. Typically, the costs will start going down, and then if they start seeing meta relevance, they'll skyrocket up. while other cards that may not be as meta relevant will start tailoring down. So this is interesting because she's continuing to go down. I think we need to keep an eye on Researcher and the other Emancipators because a lot of focus is being focused on Elvidge right now from the set as being the most meta relevant. But Emancipators has some really good synergy and is an extremely good combo deck from what I've seen. And if that starts to take traction, Emancipators can easily start taking value in Secret Slayers while helping also drive down the cost for Eldritch and other zombie support in Secret Slayers. If cards go up, other cards typically go down. So I don't know if Researcher is something you should be investing in right now. I think it's a little bit risky, but waiting another week or two if you want to pick up your Emancipators might be the smartest thing to do. Elixir of Black Awakening over the past 24 hours has actually gone down by almost 4%, which is a pretty significant drop for only 24 hours. It is a secret rare out of Secret Slayers, and that is our third hardest card to pull, which is a 4.5 per case. This is a bit interesting because the card is very hard to pull, and its value is showing at about $14.55 right now as the lowest cost that you can get from TCG Player. Looks like it's actually gone up by 0.79%, which is very small and marginal, but over the past 3 days it's gone down by 8%, and it's a very good card. It can essentially special summon a zombie monster directly from your deck if you have an Eldritch monster on the field. If you don't, you can special summon an Eldritch monster directly from the deck. And what makes this card even better is you can also banish this from your graveyard and set a spell or trap Eldritch card directly to the field. So it's really amazing. This reminds me a lot of when Orcus was in its heyday. Obviously, you can see this archetype does have a ton of potential and is very consistent. This card is interesting that it has dropped by 8%, seeing how imperative it is to run it in the deck. It's definitely a 3 of. So this is a card that you might want to consider investing in sooner rather than later because it was so hard to pull and it's a 3 of. I think this card has potential to go up to $20 to maybe even $25 over the next month or two, especially when we start hitting the meta. So if you want to play Eldritch, I would invest now. This is a card that you may want to consider buying in bulk and holding on to, and maybe making an additional $5 to $10 profit per card. Next card I'd like to look at, Emancipator the Risen Lea Knight. Now this card over the past 24 hours has dropped by 3.35%. Over the past 3 days has dropped by nearly 6%. Sitting at about $8 is the lowest value that you can get. This card's interesting. It's kind of funny that this was the one that was short printed considering the other main boss monster for Emancipators. I think it makes sense that even though it was rather short printed by only being able to pull 6 per case, it is dropping because Emancipators doesn't have as many eyes on it as Eldritch. So this card has easy potential to go up again, but I would still wait 1 to 2 weeks because I think the value can only drop from here. Next, Teardrop the Rika Queen. This archetype is not as good as the other 2 archetypes that came out of Secret Slayers, which is a deck building set, and has dropped, and honestly, just like Emancipators, I think it can only drop from here. You can run this in any type of rank 8 strategy. So this is a card in particular out of this archetype that I would wait maybe another 1 to 2 weeks and see if the value gets under about $5. Then considering purchasing this card in large volume to later sell and hold until it maybe picks up value again. I think it's a little risky. There are other rank 8s like Dingirsu that people may want to run over this or in tandem with. But if Dingirsu ever gets limited to 1 and or banned, if Orcus makes a resurgence with Eternity Code coming out, which is really going to buff up the archetype again, then people may easily replace Dingirsu with Teardrop the Rika Queen. So this is a riskier investment, but could have a large return. So this is a riskier investment, but could have a large return. Now also considering that it is rather short printed at a 7.5 ratio per case, and is a secret rare 1 print only out of Secret Slayers. So Emancipator Signs is a super rare and is one of the more short printed super rares, having about a 9.5 ratio per case. Looking at it in more detail, it's actually dropped by roughly 3% in the past 3 days. In the past 24 hours has a marginal increase of 0.62% and is roughly about $5.58. Now it's very interesting that you guys can see pricing really is determined by vendors, by their ratios of how many they pull. At Emancipator Signs probably is a 3 of. Essentially, you can target a rock monster in your graveyard, special summon it defense position. Then if you special summon an Emancipator monster by this effect, you can take one level 4 rock type monster from your deck and place it on top of your deck. Now this whole archetype is based on excavation. There's lots of cards that allow you to excavate the top 5 cards in your deck, and some of them even allow you to add one of those cards to your deck, especially if it's a rock monster. It's essentially a searcher, and it's essentially a monster reborn for the archetype. I could see this being a 3 of, maybe even a 2, with it being rather short printed, and with the price historically going down. This is another one that I would consider waiting another 1 to 2 weeks, especially if at Emancipators are still being overlooked by Elvidge. This is a card that you may want to invest in and sell later on. Could easily go down to $3, $2 and go back up to maybe even $8 or $10 if this is going to be a 3 of, and if Emancipators show meta relevance. Rika Glamour is one of our last higher dollar cards in the set, being at about $5.55 as its lowest, and is also one of our short prints comparatively to the other cards. It's got a 7.5 ratio of being able to pull this from a case. So Rika Glamour, again, the archetype isn't as meta relevant as the other 2 archetypes, but looking at it in a little more detail, it's dropped by roughly 12.25% in the last 3 days. So my assumptions are, for vendors, this is one of their short prints, so they probably had it at a higher dollar value at first, but the problem is short print doesn't always relate to demand. So because Rika is not as meta relevant right now, you see it went from 12.25% and then it started dropping like a rock very quickly. Plant could easily start getting more support in future sets. And if that happens, and if it becomes more meta relevant, this card will skyrocket in price. This is a very good card. So you could look at this card essentially as a Pot of Greed for the archetype, or Sky Striker and Gauge. You can pull 2 different plant monsters from your deck to your hand, meeting certain conditions, but you can meet them pretty easily if you build the deck correctly for the archetype. So if this archetype were to ever gain traction, this is an easy 3 of, and is rather short printed from the set as a secret rare. Now again, it's risky because we don't know if Plant will become meta relevant, but I think it has a lot of potential with the cards that are in the archetype right now. And if it does become more meta relevant, I could see this card jumping maybe to $20 in the future if it's meta relevant. And I would still wait, give it another 1-2 weeks and see if it drops. If it gets to the 2s, it's a risk, but if you guys buy like maybe 20 of these things and you're making about $18 a card, you do the math, you can make a pretty good chunk of change from this card. So this one is interesting. Solemn Judgment is one of the easiest cards to pull from this set. You'll essentially get about 44 of them per case. Now, if you were a vendor and you were investing in Secret Slayers, and if you're actually selling this card at almost $2 a pop, I would consider this to be one of the money bulk cards from the set. If you're a larger vendor and about 20 cases of this, and you're getting almost 44 per case, multiply 44 by 20, you're getting roughly 880 of this card, and you're selling it for $2 each. So you're almost making about $2 grand from Solemn Judgment alone. Now, if you're investing in singles, I don't think Solemn Judgment is a good card to necessarily invest in. With there being so many reprints of this card, I wouldn't touch it. So Emancipator Laputa is rather short printed out of the super rares at 11 per case, at least considering a lot of the other cards that you can pull that are super rares. And this card is a really good buff for the Emancipator archetype. It is a field spell, so you can search this off terraforming. All rock monsters you control gain 500 attack, that's nice. Once per turn during the main phase, you can take up to 5 Emancipator cards from your deck and place them in your deck on top in any order. Now this card I find to be essential in the deck because a lot of cards are excavating the top 5 cards, especially one of the boss monsters in the deck, in order to carry out its effects. So with this card only being $1.92, I could see this being a possible 3 of. You want to really make sure that you have this card on the field, maybe in addition to terraforming. So at $2 each right now, and with it having dropped 9% in the last 3 days, but you guys can see in the last 24 hours it's already making resurgence, going up to 4%. This one's very risky. I don't know what's going to go on in 1 to 2 weeks for this, to be perfectly honest. It could easily continue to go up And then if that does happen, other Emancipator cards are going to follow suit and start going up as well. This one is risky. I don't want to advise you guys to go one way or the other. I think you should make your decision on this. Either wait 2 weeks, see what happens. If it drops in 1 to 2 weeks, I would definitely invest in this card. It's a 3 of, it's going to be needed. It's rather short printed out of Secret Slayers. So just keep your eyes on this. If you guys want to invest in this now, I wouldn't fault you for it. I think it very much could continue going up, but with the meta being where it is right now with tournaments not happening, it's very risky. Okay, so one of the best cards in the archetype for the Rika archetype is Snowdrop, the Rika Fairy. So she is actually a super rare out of the set and only has a 10.5 ratio per case of pulling. She can essentially tribute a plant monster on the field, special summon herself and another plant monster from the hand. And in addition to that, she can match the level of any plant monster on the field and make all cards on your side of the field the same level, so you can easily go into ranking plays. This card, I would say, is probably a good 3 of in the deck. It's very good, rather short printed from the super rares, and if you look at its price point, it's dropped by 8.25% in the past 3 days. Past 24 hours, it's gone up by 1.46%. Maybe the cards have dropped as low as they'll go, and now they're starting to make a resurgence up as people are starting to see the relevance in the archetype or start seeing promise. The Rika archetype has a lot of potential to go up in the future. I would say this card could be a very good investment. Again, it is risky because we don't know what's going to happen with this archetype and its meta relevance, but it is a lower dollar super rare that is rather short printed from the set. So I would definitely say this is a card you should consider picking up if you have faith that this archetype is going to go up in the meta. Cursed Edlund also is rather short printed, probably one of the last short printed super rares considering a lot of the other super rares that you're able to pull 30 plus in the case. Cursed Edlund's ratio is 11 per case, and it's only sitting at about $1.25 as a low right now. So if we look at this a little deeper, it's gone up by 19% in the last 3 days. Very different considering a lot of the other cards. And it's gone up by 1.66 in the past 24 hours. So this card locks you in only being able to attack with zombie monsters, and you can use both of its effects each turn. It's a continuous spell and allows you to pay 800 life points, add an Elvidge monster or Golden Land spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So it's a search, and again, you can keep using it turn by turn if your opponent can't get rid of it from your side of the field. Also, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send one Elvidge monster or Golden Lance Peller Trap from your deck to your hand. This card is an easy 3 of. I would consider picking this card up because I think you can only go up from here, and I think it's showing that. Being at such a low dollar value right now, $1.25 being its lowest, I think this card can easily go up to maybe $5 as a 3 of for the archetype. So this is a card that I would feel fairly confident. I think there's less risk in picking this up and selling it for profit. One of the other cards that I would like to talk about real quick is Golden Land Forever. Now remember, Elvidge has a lot of cards that can search the spell or traps from your deck to your hand or even put it directly to the field. And this is one of those spells or traps. Golden Land Elvidge is essentially a solemn judgment for the deck, but instead of paying half your life points, you're tributing one of your zombie monsters. Now, it seems fairly easy to get zombie monsters on the field. I see this card a lot like Crescendo for Orcus, where you're able to search it, and it's a negate. And negates are one of the main necessities to make an archetype very good in this current meta. So being at only $1.10 as its lowest, $1.20 looking on TCG Player, and looking over here, Golden Land Forever is one of the short prints. This one, again, I think is an easy card to pick up. It's actually dropped by 12% in the past 3 days, and it's starting to resurge up very marginally. But then again, it may be a one of because it's so searchable. Maybe it is a little risky, but because it's short printed, because this is a necessary card to have in the deck, only being at $1, I think this card has potential to easily go up. So consider this card for your single investments. And the last card that I want to talk about is Moolah, the Rika Fairy, showing a 2.72% increase over the past few days. And she actually dropped the past 3 days by 2%, so it's starting to even out again. So her price point is very low, between 40 cents to $1.20, depending on what site you get it on. So this card is easy to get on the field because this archetype tributes monsters very consistently as part of card effects for the archetype, which allows her to special summon herself to the field. She can also increase 2 plant monsters on the field by 2 levels. Because she's easy to bring out, she's a secret rare from the set. She has a roughly 18 per case ratio from Secret Slayers as a secret rare. If this starts to see more potential in the future, you guys might want to pick this up, especially being so cheap. If it does start to see meta relevance and she is at least a 2 of in the deck, she could easily jump to $1 to $2. So one thing I'd like to end the video on, Galaxy Cyclone, Solemn Judgment, and Upstart Goblin are probably some of the more notable reprints from the set and are very easy to pull. So yeah, Upstart Goblin has already gone up in the past 3 days. Galaxy Cyclone is actually fairly cheap. I actually picked up a set for 24 cents a pop for shipping. I feel Galaxy Cyclone, probably out of the reprints, is probably one of the better reprints to consider picking up. Most decks in the meta seem to be following more towards a control variant. And this card allows you to pop a card on the field and then banish it and then pop another card on the field. Although the second one needs to be face up, but there are a lot of cards like Mystic Mine or the continuous spell out of the Elvidge archetype. There are a lot of cards in the meta that Galaxy Cyclone may be one of the better cards to side in. With this being so cheap and with this being a super rare, I would say this may be one of the safer cards to invest in out of the reprints. But this would be a card that you hold on to until we can see what happens with the meta when tournaments are back. So guys, that's gonna do it for this discussion. Now, I'd really like to know what you guys thought about it. Again, this is very different than what we've done before in previous videos. So if you guys wanna see more content like this video, like the video and comment down below, let me know what you liked about it. And let me know what you would like me to change. If there's something you would like to see me do different, or if you disagree with anything that I talked about, I'd really like to know your thoughts down below. So guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you feel it was helpful for you. And for those of you that celebrate Easter, as the Greeks say, Christos Anesti.